Ah, Los Angeles, movies, TV, celebrities on red carpets, Hollywood, or gridlock traffic, fire, floods, earthquakes. Los Angeles is a sprawling city spread over 500 square miles, from the mountains, through the canyons, and out to its beautiful beaches. The people who live here speak 185 different languages. It's a city constantly in flux, evolving, creating, making things that didn't exist before. Today we're going to meet with and hear a killer band, Chicano Batman, ponder the future of storytelling with the godmother of VR, and we'll meet a young female chef and her big pink truck stopping traffic across Los Angeles with her vegan comfort food. We're tripping in Los Angeles. Hi, I'm Nick. I've spent my career as a tastemaker, introducing people to new music. And now I'm traveling the globe on a mission to seek out the creme de la creme of innovators and creators in the worlds of food, tech, and music. Let's go tripping. This is Fiji Hill, a trail located in Eagle Rock just outside of Pasadena, northeast of Los Angeles. Now we're about to meet a couple of guys who grew up around here, Eduardo Arenas and Bado Martinez of the band Chicano Batman. Musically, Chicano Batman are a mix of cool, psychedelic soul, funk, prog, and indie rock, creating something totally unique that could only come out of Los Angeles. The band have spent the last decade building a reputation and a fan base that has taken them out of LA, across the states, and around the world as a fiercely independent group who aren't afraid to speak their truth through performance and lyrics.
What's up, Nick?
Gentlemen,
Nic Harcourt.
great to see you guys.
How are you, bro? Good, man.
Nice to see you. Thank you so much.
I was thinking this morning, it was like listening to Morning Become Eclectic without you.
Yeah.
It's like watching Price is Right without Bob Barker.
Oh man,
You know what I'm saying?
that's like a major compliment.
What's LA to you, right? We've had people have asked us this question before,
Sure.
like show us where you're from in LA, and usually, okay, well, it's like, you know, and they're kind of leaning towards, they're already kind of leaning into like Boyle Heights a little bit. They're already like, okay,
East
well, let's go to like a
LA.
taco spot.
Sure.
Let's go to, you know.
Yeah.
But for me, this is LA.
Right.
Like these hills, you know, these mountains. To me, that's why I love this place.
And you both grew up around here, right?
Well, I grew up on the east side in Boyle Heights and Pico Rivera. But I lived here on Avenue 51, down here about half a block for about
Which is where we parked.
6 years.
Yeah.
And that's when Bardo hit me up to start this band. We would rehearse there. I used to have a bed, and in our bedroom I used to like put it up against the wall, put a 2x4, and that's where the drummer used to hang, you know? And so we would do that several times, I mean, for years,
Yeah.
you know? And that's where we recorded our first album.
Magma, what was the first words I said? And what did I say? Magma, you know, 'cause you melted my bones and my brains.
I had seen Bardo perform before. I always thought he was just a soulful dude. Every time I've seen him play, it's always him and his guitar only, like no band. He would just get a guitar and start playing, you know? And that's just the kind of spirit and the kind of go-to, like he just like was gung-ho like that. So he asked me to, you know, he was like, hey, we should jam. He got this other guy who's a Colombian, and he can play all kinds of rhythms. And Gabo had studied in France, in France for a few years, music. And so he came here and lived in Azusa. Talk about real LA, that's way out there, Azusa. And he was working, man, when he came here, he was working at a mall, selling like cell phone accessories or something like that.
So he's from Cali, Colombia. He grew up there. He left to France when he was like 18.
Wow.
So, you know, basically because he had to go on some like, you know, like refugee kind of vibes, like, you know, because of political, economic things like that.
Understood.
And so he had to roll out. So he went to France, and then he studied drums there for 5 years. So he was working in a sticker shop for like
Forever.
the first 5 years of our band.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was only the three of us. So
Yeah.
Chicano Batman was a 3-piece.
Are you a lucid dream? That's what it seems. I'm not really sure if it's real. just got to say I found my way. The forest got a magical feel, yeah.
Just been in the scene for a long time, just playing all kinds of shows and backyard things, local things.
We just we play anywhere.
Sure.
And I think that's just, this is pre-IG, pre-YouTube, I mean, YouTube was barely really taking off in 2007. So it was when you really had to hack it out. I don't know, it might be difficult for somebody who's like 25 now to understand, there were absolutely no shortcuts. There's no real viral, Viral means like going out there and injecting people one by one.
Sure.
That's the OG viral.
Yeah.
And that's what we were doing. And that's kind of proved to be just the fruits of our labor are because of that. We used to have like a cult following, Chicano Batman, they're doing this crazy thing. People come to our show and they just stare at us for the first time and they just don't quite get what we're doing. And back in the day, we were doing way crazier stuff.
I feel like people were just so less jaded then.
Yeah.
Everything was just so much more organic.
Yeah.
And so I never cared. I feel like I'm way more self-conscious now in terms of what I'm doing musically than I was then.
Is that because more people can see the process? Because people can go to a show and put up some video online, or
that's part of it.
Social media, people are talking about it.
Right away, you have like a mirror.
Yeah.
You just check your stories.
Right.
I was telling him I had a show the other day. I was like, yo, my vocal mix was crazy loud at this place. He was like, just don't check the stories.
Pretty simple.
Exactly.
Another thing too, I think nowadays, you can have a pretty popular record if you have the right shirt, you know what I'm saying? And and the right color hair.
Of course.
Then with the right position, and then you're gonna get way more traction than if somebody actually listened to the material. Now, I think with Chicano Batman, what I take pride in is we don't fucking play that game. We play, you know what I'm saying? And we perform, we record the four of us playing in the studio. It's we hardly ever multi-track.
So you guys record live
yeah.
to
That's
yeah.
The basic instruments we always do. That's where the magic is at. And I think when we perform, it's we click. We click as four humans, and that's I think the greatest gift that Chicano Batman can offer is just the four of us together. And as the years go by, it's more and more obvious. Especially out of pandemic, we get together and rehearse, and we hit something. We're like, damn, we haven't played in 8 months, and that was amazing.
I've always used songwriting and writing in general since I was in high school as just kind of my way of kind of just my therapy. I'm going through life, I'm going through this and that. There's so much coming at us daily, as you can imagine, just any of us, within our experience as a youngster going through life, high school, anything, it's just so deep and heavy, and we're all synthesizing. We're all figuring it all out. So for me, writing is that. Okay, this is my canvas to lay it out,
Do you feel any kind of obligation to your community in how you write and how you perform?
Yeah, I think it's been awesome throughout these years to have the platform we have to perform. I feel the inspiration from younger people that see us on a stage this big and say, I didn't know that was possible. I didn't know it was possible to tour with Jack White or play Coachella twice. We've done a bunch of things that we never thought we would ever do. And the youth saying because you're doing that, I feel like I can do so much more with whatever I got going on. And I think that's the part where music transcends further.
Is that the reflection where you're reflecting back to the audience who they are and
Totally.
vice versa?
I didn't have those role models, so to speak, when I was younger. We had Metallica, Led Zeppelin, what I'm saying, the general big box
Sure,
rock.
but those guys were way
before,
somewhere before as well.
And they're not Latino. Politically, we chase truth. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like we're trying to be leftist or in our music or progressive. It's just our lens. Maybe Dave Grohl is super political, but you won't tell because his music is something else. And he has the liberty to do that. I think what Barlow was expressing is, as Latinos, it's nice to just express our sentiment. and not get poked at it just because we're Latino. Like, Bardo feels a certain way and he writes it eloquently and it touches a lot of people. And that's all you need sometimes, just to be touched. But it's nice to be respected for your sentiment and your art and your craft. Just let us be us. And I think we can all just enjoy each other's company if we can respect each other for how different we are.
What is Los Angeles to you?
That's a good question. LA is everything you've ever imagined, you know? But you can only access it if you tap into a community. And I think that's one of the things that in LA, I tell people, you're not gonna fall in love once you get here. You're gonna get lost, you know? Unless you get invited to a baptism and a backyard party, you know what I'm saying? Unless you get invited to, like, you know, a party or a food thing with some Cambodians in their house, you know, then you'll start really falling into the niche of all of what LA has to offer, whether it be Ethiopian, Latino, Filipino, Japanese, Indian. I mean, it's all here. It's not all connected and you won't be able to see it, but you can live your whole life here in LA speaking Spanish, you know? And I think that's one of the things that, you know, when you're somewhere else in a different country, they're like, hey, where are you from? Oh, I'm American. I like to do that now, just, you know, to fuck with people. Because...
Me too.
You know what I'm saying? It's easy. It's just like, I don't want to get into the whole politics thing. I'm American. LA is the world. You just got to open your eyes, open your ears, and open your hearts to access these different spaces and to start creating family. Otherwise, you're just going to be in your own little suburban track home, you know, with your horse blinds on because things are too different and too diverse. And let's not diversify the city. You know what I'm saying? That's too dangerous.
As we bid farewell to the guys and I stumble back down Fiji Hill, we're about to head 7 miles as the crow, or in this case the drone, flies to downtown LA and the recently refurbished architectural gem that is the Herald Examiner building. Now we're here to meet Nonny de la Pena, who's been described by both Forbes and The Guardian as the godmother of virtual reality and who in fact began her career in a previous incarnation of this very building.
So my very first job out of college was actually in this building, working for AP Photo in the darkroom during the 1984 Olympics. It's kind of amazing that it's come full circle where I've returned to bring the same kind of energy of trying to marry the visual with the storytelling, but now to work in a center that we're developing here at ASU on narrative and emerging media.
What made you want to be a storyteller?
You know, it's funny, I actually dream in stories sometimes. And I've asked people, well, do you not dream of third-person stories, like about other people who are having a whole life in your dreams? And I you know, my husband going, no, I never.
I don't have those dreams.
You don't?
No, am I missing out on something?
I don't know. I've dreamed about, like, you know, ice skating couples who are failures who, like, I can remember the blades hitting the rubber mats. I mean, like, I literally have these vivid dreams about other people. So sometimes I guess I dream in stories, so it's what I need to do. After, you know, doing my best as a freelancer in New York City, I eventually landed a job as a print journalist at Newsweek magazine. And my roommates in New York, can you believe it? They sacrificed a closet for me to keep a darkroom going. And so I kept trying to keep the visual part, and I stayed as a print journalist for Newsweek for a number of years, but I couldn't scratch the visual itch. So then I got involved in doing documentary film. Made a number of films, ended up writing on staff on television shows here in LA. And I never quite was satisfied until I started teaching myself to code. And I then began to use HTML to start first web pages to talk about ways to share stories that I could do text and visuals. And then eventually it led me to build, in 2007 with a digital artist named Peggy Weil, a virtual Guantanamo Bay prison. I'd done a documentary about how this place was off limits to most citizens and press, and we created the virtual version to make it so it was accessible, even if it was in a way that was only seen through technology, but at least anybody could access it.
Where are my human rights? there is no one to help me.
I remember the aha moment sitting in my backyard going, this can be used for all kinds of journalism. And I began to call it immersive journalism.
So we're in Los Angeles, a city of storytellers. Everybody knows LA, everybody knows Hollywood, we know movies, we know television, but you're telling stories that are not going to be seen in the mainstream press. And I know that one story in particular is very close to your heart. It's about Stanley Hayami, who was in a Japanese-American internment camp during World War II. Tell us a little bit, first of all, about Stanley, and then how do you take his story, which I believe was in a diary, and move it into the VR world?
So Stanley was a 15-year-old kid when he was taken from his home in San Gabriel Valley and put in an internment camp in Heart Mountain, Wyoming, like a brutally cold, dusty, hard place. And he came of age in this camp. And he was this beautiful thinker, an incredible artist. And he did these incredible drawings. And what we did was take two things and combine them. One was this new technology where we can do photoreal environments, and we did a scan of the actual barracks that he would have been living in, the type of barracks he would have been living in with his two siblings and his parents, all crammed in, 5 of them, into this one room space. Also, what we did is we scanned his diary. So again, this is photoreal, so you're seeing his diary and the pages turn, and you're inside this barracks. But we also use a new technology to animate with drawing called Quill, so that his drawings, we pull them off the page and we give them 3 dimensions. And now you're kind of inside Stanley's mind when he's musing about how, and his maturity, and going from the anger and coming to a certain amount of peace, going from his grades being terrible, which had never been before, to getting back to being straight A's. But then what happens is, with like so many of these kids, they'd pull them out of the camps and they'd throw them on the front line of World War II, even while their parents were still locked up.
So he was actually taken out of the internment camp where he was with his parents and sent to the front line to fight.
That's correct. And
that's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. You take a story like that, which is a diary that's been in a museum as an object and is kind of something you could just pass by, and turn it into a full experience where you can be inside the barracks with them, you know, the difficulties and the repression and the frustration. And then the final piece of it was when Stanley was buried in a cemetery here in LA, the headstone says that he's from Wyoming, but he wasn't from Wyoming. He was from San Gabriel. And being able to take in VR and change that grave from Wyoming to San Gabriel, I feel like I got an opportunity in some ways to bring Stanley home.
Now, it did just occur to me that throughout history, bad guys, and they're always guys, have co-opted new technology to do, well, bad guy stuff. The printed word, posters, radio, film, TV, and more recently social media have been used as tools of propaganda. So
these are not new issues.
Yeah, there's always somebody who wants to take something and do something bad with it.
That's right. And so we have to be mindful of that. But I also believe, as I've just, talk about stories like hunger and LGBTQ homelessness and domestic violence and Stanley Hayami, these are opportunities to also do good. And I think in the future, we're going to see a lot of stuff through our glasses. And it's going to be both augmented reality and virtual reality. I can tell you there are no cars that I can sit in and see over the hood. And so to have my glasses say, oh, there's this much left between you and the car in front. I mean, that's just going to become the thing that's integrated as a tool in your pocket or on your face. That's the future. And it's just a matter of what do we want to do with it? What are the stories we want to tell? How do we want to use it for good? And I think this is a really important time that we begin to train thinkers who are going to be the ones creating this content in the future. It's both a combination of my work at Emblematic that allows us to build all kinds of software and stories, but I think this is the important time to start training the next generation of content creators, and that's why I'm so excited to be here at ASU.
Ah, the future. Well, I'm not going anywhere until I have lunch. And I'm off to visit my friend Chanel Goodson and her bright pink vegan AF food truck. It's become quite the magnet for the Instagram crowd as she rolls around town serving her vegan comfort food like loaded vegan egg rolls and, just as importantly, inspiring other young female entrepreneurs and championing food sustainability.
So I'm prepping my cheeseburger roll.
Okay.
And the name of this, I called it the fucked up ass cheeseburger roll. It was kind of like
The fucked up ass
the
cheeseburger roll.
fucked up ass cheeseburger
Oh,
roll.
okay.
Is the name of it.
Just checking.
And the reason why I named it that was because I wanted to create this concept of a different burger. I wanted to create something that wasn't a burger, but it was like a burger because it was like twisted up as a burger. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, because everybody does a burger, right?
Everybody does burgers.
Yeah, so this is
So
your
this
spin
is
on it.
my version of the perfect vegan burger in an egg roll. I use a cheddar cheese.
Okay.
I do caramelized onion. And I use, the meat that I actually use for this one is the Beyond Beef.
Okay. We should put out that's vegan cheese.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100% vegan
Yeah.
cheese. And then I top it with a spicy chipotle mayo sauce.
Oh, yum. I can't wait to eat this.
It's actually one of my favorites, but the creative ability behind it was I wanted to create a different cheeseburger. And then I loaded up with vegan bacon.
Mmm.
It's so good. My whole thing here at Vegan AF is like, vegan food doesn't have to be healthy. It doesn't have to be boring. I think people still have this concept that vegans eat salads all day and kale. And it's like, no, the fuck we don't. We eat what we want.
Right.
Like, we have burgers, we have donuts.
So you're making vegan comfort food.
Exactly.
Right.
Vegan comfort food, vegan street food.
My
I would
favorite
say.
kind of vegan food, by the way. I think maybe I have an idea, but why did you think pink?
I wanted people to know that when they saw the truck that it was owned by a woman.
Got it?
I wanted it to stand out, and I wanted it to be a conversation starter. And there are other pink trucks out here, but I wanted my truck to be like, what the hell is that? Even if I'm not vegan, I want to eat there.
I'm interested.
I'm
What is
stopping
it? Yeah.
because of the truck.
Yeah.
And to this day, I get people that come up to me, come up to the truck, and they just want to take pictures with it.
Isn't that a really important part of marketing though today, especially when you're out and about? It's like the Instagram moments, right?
Yep.
It's like even if they're not going to come and eat here, they're going to take a picture and stick it up on Instagram.
Exactly.
How much of social media plays into what you do and where you take the truck?
Oh my goodness, social media is everything. Can I get another napkin too? Social media is everything. You want your brand to be marketable, yes, but what's really important is for your brand to be Instagrammable. Those are two totally different concepts. People want to look at food that they can Instagram.
Right.
And they can TikTok.
Right.
And a lot of restaurant owners don't understand that concept. I'm only 5 months in, right? But I get people who have done this for years coming up to me and asking me what I'm doing. And I'm like, honestly, I'm just making sure my aesthetic and my brand and the food tastes good.
But that's your marketing background, isn't it?
It is.
Right there.
It is.
It's a big benefit.
It's a big benefit. But I've always been a very creative girl since I was young. I've dipped into some of everything. So I've always been very, very, very creative. All right, so these are ready to be fried.
All right. Hey, ma'am, can I get a fucked up as cheeseburger roll? And if you've got one as well, maybe a vegan as fuck Philly roll?
Yeah. So
Wow,
here's
it's
the
ready.
Philly roll for you.
Oh,
And
man.
then here's the cheeseburger roll.
Oh, yum city. You're gonna come and eat this with me, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll
All right.
come eat that with you.
Yeah. So when you decided that you wanted a food truck, LA is obviously the place to come, right?
Absolutely. Before I moved here, I only been to LA one time. I came for a music festival, but I noticed right away it was very like food truck culture. It kind of did linger in my mind. I'm like, I wonder how it would be to own a food truck in LA.
We were talking about you being a woman
Yeah,
in this business, which is a
Yeah.
little unusual in and of itself.
absolutely.
And pink.
Especially a black woman.
Well, that's what I wanted to get around to. So thank you for leading me there. Yeah, let's talk about a black woman vegan chef. I mean, that is an anomaly.
Yeah, it's still very unheard of. And people come up to me all the time and tell me how much I'm an inspiration just because I am a black woman. and I am cooking vegan food. I grew up in a very traditional Black family home where the word vegan was like, what the hell is that?
What does
like,
that
you better
mean?
pass me the chicken.
Yeah.
You better pass me the pork.
Leave those bean sprouts for the hippies.
Yeah, like that is just not what we do. And that kind of like motivated me even more to like do it well, and inspire other fellow Black women to do it as well.
Are you beginning to change people's minds a little bit in your community?
Yes, I get so many people that come into my truck and they say all the time, I can't believe this is vegan. I can be vegan if I can eat like this. And that is exactly the expression that I wanted to have, because I didn't create Vegan AF just for vegans. I created it for people that you're curious about vegan food and you want to try vegan food for the first time. Or maybe you tried vegan food and it was nasty and you're curious about it again. I created it for those people too. And when I get those men and women that come up and say, no, I love this food, I can be vegan if I can eat like this, that's a compliment that it stains you, because it's like, I know I'm doing something right.
How important is it, do you think, that people think about veganism, at least begin to have that conversation?
Yeah, I think people are not open to having the conversation at home because it has a lot to do with cultural upbringing. And once we kind of release that norm, we can start having that conversation about how to incorporate being vegan day by day, little by little, into our diets. Because the answer isn't just, to go vegan and we're going to solve all the problems in the world, but it's a start. And it starts with having that conversation with your friends and your family at home. And not forgetting about your cultural norms, but trying to figure out how you can take your cultural norms and flip it and twist it up and make it vegan. Because that's what I did growing up from a traditional Black family. I just took what I knew and flipped it and removed all the things that I didn't need. And that's why the food is so good, because I'm cooking with that love, that soul, that passion. But I took my culture with me. And a lot of people don't think you can do both.
But you took your culture and you brought it to Los Angeles.
Exactly.
And you put it in a bright pink truck. And this is now a Los Angeles landmark. So if you're coming to LA and you want to find out where the Vegan AF truck is, Instagram's the place, right?
Yeah, I tell people to follow us on Instagram. It's the Vegan AF food truck. We're normally in North Hollywood, Melrose. We do a lot of cool festivals, and we always post where we are or hours on Instagram.
We just had our fabulous Vegan AF lunch. Now we have the fortune cookie. I hope it's something good. I got exactly what I needed. My fortune cookie says, talk your shit, you're killing it. Chanel's killing it.
And that's our day in Los Angeles. Join us next time on Tripping with Nic Harcourt as we seek out innovators and entrepreneurs in cities around the globe capturing lightning in a bottle. Until then, be safe, be kind, and keep it simple.